Hi there, my name is Carleen and today I would like to tell you about my Dukan journey. So it all started about 3.5 years ago when a friend of mine and I have been talking, and I told her how tired I am of being overweight and that nothing is working. She asked me if I tried the Dukan diet and I told her, no, I've not tried it, but I have heard about it. So I have tried everything else except the Dukan diet, and for the past 20 years I have been on different yo-yo diets. I've tried every single diet that came out. I've tried tablets, I've tried the herbal teas, slimming teas, powders, milkshakes, you name it, I've tried it. And with all those diets, what I did was give it about 6 weeks or 3 months and see if it works. And if it didn't work, then I would just give up and try something else. So at the time when my friend mentioned the Dukan diet, I remembered that about 14 years ago, a colleague of mine have mentioned the Dukan diet. And I did actually have a quick look to see what it's about. When I looked at it 14 years ago, I thought this sounds really quite complicated. And it sounded like I had to do a lot of calculations and there was a lot of phases. And I thought, oh, I don't know if this is for me. And I didn't want to commit if I wasn't going to commit 100%. So at the time, I thought maybe it's not the best time because I was all stressed. And I decided, no, this is not for me. So to cut a long story short, 3.5 years ago, after my little chat with my friend, I decided now I will do some research on this diet before I make my decision. So I've given myself plenty time, probably a month. It might have been longer even than a month. And I've tried to find as much information as possible on the Dukan diet to see if it is going to work for me. By that time, I knew myself pretty well and I knew all the pitfalls and where I would fail in the past. So I looked into the Dukan diet to see if I would be able to sustain it. And I know that in the mornings I like to have a cup of coffee. So on the Dukan diet, that was not a problem. I like to have a bit of sweetener in my coffee, again, not a problem. And then I do have a big love for a slice of bread. And I found out that you can actually make bread on the Dukan diet as long as you use your oat bran. There's some other ingredients as well, tolerated items that you can make bread from. But in the cruise phase, you should just really use your oat bran to make bread. And when I realized that I can have bread, I can have coffee, I can have a bit of sweetener, I can have so many different veggies, I thought, wow, I think I can follow this diet. I also checked on things like dairy and eggs and meat, and it was all fine. And I decided that I am going to give this Dukan diet a good try. So when I decided to commit, I went online, did the online calculator to calculate how many days of attack I need to do. And I've done my attack phase. A lot of people struggle with this phase, and yes, it can be tough. But it is the hardest part of the diet because it is so restrictive. A lot of people give up because they experience some unpleasant symptoms, the sugar withdrawal symptoms, which is not great. It normally starts on day 2 or day 3, sometimes a little bit later. But if you just stay with it, they go away. So normally the attack phase is between 3 and 7 days, depending on how much weight you need to lose. So my advice would be, if you're struggling in the attack phase, just stick with it, finish your attack phase so you can move on to the next phase that is a little bit less restrictive, which is the cruise phase. So after I finished my attack phase, I went on to the cruise phase and I followed that for 10 months. I was really, really strict. I didn't have any sugar or sweetener for the first 2 months of my cruise phase. And I completely detoxed myself from sugar, and it was tough. And I started realizing how much I depended on sugar. After the 2 months, I introduced a bit of sweetener again into my life. And that was actually great to have a little sugar-free jelly here and there, or a sugar-free dessert. And it just, you know, gives you a little bit of motivation sometimes to stick with the diet. So the cruise phase I followed for 10 months, and I've lost 30 kilos, and I was really, really pleased with myself. But I must say, on such a long cruise phase, eventually you do start missing your favorite foods. And especially if you know you can't have them, then you miss them even more. So what I always say, we are all on a different journey, even if we are all on the Dukan journey. It is not that easy for some of us. The more weight you have to lose, the longer the cruise phase lasts. So for instance, if you've only got 5 or 8 kilograms to lose, your cruise phase is really short and quick. So it's a lot of people, their cruise phase is only maybe a month or 2 months or maybe 3 months. But for people like us, where you have to lose maybe 30 kilos, 40, 50, 60 or even more, your cruise phase will be 10 months or a year or even 2 years. And you have to be prepared for that. So after 10 months, I really started feeling it a bit. And the tolerated items that you're allowed on your vegetable days are things like a couple of squares of chocolate, or a small glass of wine, or maybe 6 olives, or a small handful of nuts. And what I started doing was I was using more and more tolerated items. And everybody warns you against this, because when you start doing that, the weight loss sometimes stops completely, and it did for me. At some point, I was not that happy about the weight loss that has completely stopped, and I wanted the weight to start coming off again. So I stopped using the tolerated items, and the weight started going down again. Then I tried to add a little bit of carbohydrates occasionally, and I found that if I do add carbohydrates on a regular basis, the weight actually goes up again. So I saw that if I'm not careful with the carbs, I would put on maybe 1 kilogram of weight per month. So that is when I realized that over the years, that's how I've put the weight on. So you don't think a half a kilogram per month or a kilogram per month is a lot, but over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it does make a big difference. So I was thinking, if only I knew this about 20 years ago, I could have changed my lifestyle and just switched to the Dukan principles. When I say Dukan principles, these are the principles. You need to eat your oat bran every day. You need to drink enough water every day. You need to go for a walk every day. You need to watch your fat intake. When it comes to dairy, it needs to be low fat. When you are cooking, you need to try and cook fat-free if possible. So any kind of saturated fat you need to cut out. And you also need to keep an eye on your sodium levels. Keep your sodium as low as possible. Be very careful with your carbs. Try to completely cut out carbs if you can, and only take the carbs in your oat bran. Try to cut out sugar completely and limit your artificial sweeteners or your natural sweeteners to a bare minimum. Be very careful with your fruit. There's a certain list of fruits allowed on the Dukan diet that's lower in sugar. And then also you must remember to eat lots of vegetables, especially on your vegetable days, because you need that fiber. I've also introduced on my journey a little bit of chia seeds to keep you regular. So a lot of people experience problems on a high protein diet. I would recommend try some chia seeds. So we were talking about the time when I found it really hard staying on the cruise phase on the original diet. And then I remembered that there is another Dukan diet, which is also from Dr. Pierre Dukan, that he brought out a few years later, and that is called the staircase diet. So I did a little bit of self-analysis, and I realized that I don't have a problem with my vegetable days. I get through them no problem, because I love my veggies, I love my salads, and I really, really found it difficult as the journey went on to stick to my protein days and to have a pure protein day all day. So those days were very frustrating for me. So I ended up cheating with a little piece of chocolate, or cheating with vegetables was quite common. And you would think that's really funny, cheating with vegetables, cheating with a salad. But I just craved my vegetables, and all I could think about is my vegetables. So on the staircase diet of Dr. Dukan, you can have your vegetables 6 days a week. So you just really need to get through Monday, which is your pure protein day. And for me, that was easy. 1 day a week, pure proteins, no problem. Because I knew for the next 6 days, I can have any veggies I wanted, and I can have all my salads that I wanted. So the other thing that I did find hard on the cruise phase, on the original diet, was not having a choice of many fruits. I was used to having fruit every day before I went on Dukan, and I was used to eating from a wide variety of fruits. So on the staircase diet, you can then introduce a bigger variety of fruit. And I absolutely love that, because I wanted to make fruit smoothies, but also vegetable and fruit smoothies. So I do that now. From a Wednesday till a Friday, I have some fruit and vegetable smoothies for my lunch, and it's really something that I look forward to every week. The other thing that I did miss on Dukan, even though I make an amazing oat bran bread that I have 99% of the time, I was missing regular bread. Just a nice, light, fluffy, soft piece of bread that you can make a sandwich. Because the oat bran bread tends to be really heavy. It's lovely, you can toast it, it's versatile, you can have it for breakfast, but I find that it is best to just eat it as an open sandwich. So the idea of having a closed sandwich like you used to have, that was really appealing. So on the staircase diet, you can have your regular sandwich from Thursday, Friday, all the way to Sunday if you want it. So I do that now. Occasionally, once or twice a week, have some regular bread, make a sandwich and enjoy it. The other thing that I didn't miss that much when I was on the cruise phase of the original diet was regular starchy foods. So a little bit of regular potatoes or sweet potatoes, or a small portion of whole grain rice, or a small portion of whole wheat pasta. To me, I really didn't miss those things, but it's nice to know that on a Saturday, when the whole family is having a bit of spaghetti, you can have a bit as well. So that was quite nice. The other thing, on a Sunday, you can then have your celebration meal, and it's lovely because Dr. Dukan says you could really have anything you want, within reason, of course. So if you fancied a slice of pizza, have a slice of pizza. So what I've decided during my Dukan journey, I've always wondered if I would be able to switch over to a vegan diet. And a lot of vegetarians and vegans have asked Dr. Dukan this question: can I go on the Dukan diet and follow a vegetarian, a plant-based diet? And Dr. Dukan's answer to that was, yes, you can try, but it is very, very difficult. The reason for that is you need to up your protein enough so that your body is feeling that it's not lacking in energy. So by the time you've had enough protein on your vegan diet, then it often adds up to too many calories if you're having the right amount of lentils or chickpeas or anything like soya products, and it's really hard. So what I've decided, on a Sunday when it's celebration meal time, I'm going to have a vegan meal, and I'm going to try all those wonderful recipes that I've always wanted to try. But while I was on cruise on the original diet, it was a no-no. It's no lentils, it's no peas, and it was just impossible to do anything like that. So now I'm looking forward to experimenting with all those exciting recipes. So I have successfully switched to the staircase method, and I'm happy to say that I'm losing weight again, and I'm actually looking forward to the next week and to my menus and to my recipes. So I would definitely recommend that if you're struggling on the original plan, to switch to the staircase. The weight does come off a little bit slower. So on the original plan, I was losing between 2 and 3 kilos per month, whereas with the staircase, it's between 1 and 2 kilos a month. So it's a little bit slower, but I feel I am okay with that. As long as the scales, the numbers keep going down, I'm happy about that. And as long as the diet is exciting for me and I stay motivated, that's all that matters, to lose the last few kilos. So I've realized on this journey that Dukan is not really a diet, it's a lifestyle, and you just need to follow those principles. And we talked about them earlier, about drinking the water, eating the oat bran, all those things. And if you follow the principles, Dukan is really easy and it is fun and it is very flexible. A lot of people say that you can often just take a recipe, tweak it a little bit, and the word they would often use is Dukanize it, and it just simply means make it suitable for the Dukan diet. So that is actually a really good tip. The best advice I can give you is, if you're on the Dukan diet, don't give up. It is a really good diet. It might not work for everyone, but you mustn't give up. Whether you're in the middle of attack phase or the middle of cruise phase, stick with it. And the most important thing is not to skip the 3rd and the 4th phase, because in those 2 phases, you will keep the weight off for the rest of your life. So if you simply quit after the cruise phase, all the weight will just come back if you go back into your old habits. So what I've decided to keep myself motivated and accountable, I decided 11 months ago to start my own YouTube channel. So I have decided the reason to have this channel is to make videos and show people how to make Dukan friendly dishes from all the allowed ingredients. So I've shared my own personal favorite recipes. Most of them are recipes I've created myself. Some of them are recipes that I've borrowed from Dr. Dukan's books or other sources, but every time I have disclosed if I've borrowed a recipe. So on the YouTube channel at the moment, I've got more than 40 videos that you can watch, and the name of the channel is called Everyday Dukan and Healthy Eating, and that's what it's about. If you have a look on there, you will find a wonderful recipe for bread, you'll find recipes for muffins, you'll find jam recipes, you'll find a few canning recipes, light lunches, you'll find dinner things on there, all different kinds of meats, and also side dishes, dips, marinades, sauces, dressings, ice cream, you name it, it's all on there. So please go and have a look. The other thing I have as well is a Facebook page. It's called Dukan Dieters Around the World. You can also join us there if you were looking for a little bit of support or advice, or just simply communicating with other people who's on the Dukan diet around the world and comparing notes. It is really a fun community to belong to, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video with me today. Please give us a like, leave a comment if you like. You can also email any questions you've got, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you've learned something today. And if you're considering the Dukan diet, I hope I've answered some of your questions. Have a lovely day. Bye.